Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Traina, and welcome once again to, this is our 11th episode of Please Join Me. It's a podcast that focuses on performing artists and other folks in the arts, and we try to keep them out there during these challenging times, talk with them about their careers, what they're doing now, and what they hope to do in the future. I'm delighted today to have the most fabulous show person, entertainer, and someone who is keeping alive the entertainment and the shows that were very much the rage and all over in the 40s, 50s, 60s in places like the Latin Quarter and Copacabana, and she really is the consummate incarnation of the glamour girl, the showgirl, the cover girl, the girl next door. So Quinn Lemley, I will give you a little background, is the star of Burlesque to Broadway, and the star that built Columbia Pictures, Rita Hayworth, in The Heat Is On. I originally saw Quinn Lemley in The Heat Is On when she first started to do it about 3 weeks ago, and it was fabulous. And it's where we began to work together. She has performed with my bands a number of times. She was kind enough and graced my small film, indie film we'll call it, entitled Lucky Stiff, which I made several years ago. It was a gift to my son, but Quinn Lemley played the femme fatale to perfection, and I encourage you to watch that on YouTube, if for no other reason, to see a Quinn's star turn. I'm going to let Quinn tell you a little bit about herself, as what I'm reading from on the computer has now gone away, and I want basically her to talk about her life, her career. I know you're from Columbia, Indiana.
Columbus. Like Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus, Indiana. I know they're getting rid of him. They're taking down all the statues. And that's near Bloomington.
Yes,
right?
We're 30 miles from Bloomington.
Right. And
Indiana University.
Indiana U. And you lived there during your youth and eventually came to New York. And we're happy to escape Indiana, especially lately, because as you said to me in the past, we couldn't wait to get rid of Mike Pence. So
unfortunately, he's from our hometown.
Yes,
but I don't want to promote that.
Okay, no, not at all. It's no slight on you. So I want you to tell us really about Granny Lemley and the early days of your being introduced to the world of glamour, to the golden age of film, and how that attracted you to pursue this kind of career.
Well, great question. Thank you, Joe. I'm so excited to be here. My Granny Lemley lived behind us in an apartment behind our house, and every day after school I'd run over and we would listen to all of the great standards, all of the great music she had 8 tracks. Yeah, and I think she had a record player. Yeah, she had a record player, and so she introduced me to all of those glamour girls, and then we'd also watch all the old movies, and our favorite was Joan Crawford. But little did I know that I would have a resemblance as I matured, and that I would look like Rita Hayworth and get to do Rita Hayworth's life story. So it was really wonderful, because it was this beautiful connection that we had, because we would share biographies and movies and music. And when she passed away, I was here going to NYU, and I had seen her over Christmas, and about 6 months later, this huge box came with all of the books that I had given her, and the music and the records. And so that was really, that was really our relationship, was sharing the golden age of Hollywood and the big band era.
That was your legacy in a way, what she sent to you. Was it in the will to be sent to you, or?
No, my aunts just put everything together, and since they were gifts, that I had given her over the years, they gave them back to me, so I have them at home in Indiana.
Did she push you, as the grandmother in A Star Is Born, to go into professional show business, go and break your own heart, that kind of thing?
I mean, she wasn't like that, but she was she loved all the stories and the storytelling, and she loved all of that and was always very supportive.
Oh, that's
but what
great.
was so funny was Granny Lemley was very prim and proper, so that was interesting because she loved glamour so much. It was my other grandmother who was very beautiful and I mean, both of them were beautiful, but a little more earthy and, entertaining wise.
And in addition to Granny Lemley, the folks were supportive, yes? Your
My parents are so supportive, yes.
They're caterers?
My dad was the largest caterer in southern Indiana when I was growing up, and now he makes hot sauces and spices and mustard and that kind of thing.
I saw your picture on a bottle years ago.
Yes,
hot sauce.
yeah, when I did Dance or Die. That was, yes.
It was too hot for me.
Yes, that was one of my marketing things. When at the CD release party, my dad did put the album Dance or Die on a super hot sauce that came with the with the CD because it was hot and spicy.
So you went to school?
Yes, I went to NYU. I studied in Bordeaux, France. I went to school and studied at the conservatory there when I was at the lycée, and then I got a scholarship to go to do my final year at Interlochen Arts Academy up in Michigan. It was very cold, but it was really, really magical. We'd cross country ski, and there were only like 80 of us in our graduating class, and really great musicians and actors and singers. It was magical. And then I came to NYU.
And what year is that? If you don't mind my asking.
In the past.
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
And so you go to NYU, and of course you take the program. And at that time, I'll bet you were either auditioning or starting to work around town, right?
Yes, I went to school for theater and was studying voice, and then I was also do a minor in film and television production. So I got that bug too. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about that. And it was so magical. And I was doing an internship at the Kurt Weill Foundation for Music, and so I got to really be in those archives and learn all about Kurt Weill and the wonderful standards that he had created.
You've incorporated some of his work into your work, into your shows?
Of course, not in the Rita Hayworth show or Burlesque to Broadway, but I've sung a lot of Kurt Weill in the past.
Yeah, I did a recording of September Song years ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
He wrote some wonderful stuff.
I love it.
Three-penny opera. Cool.
Johnny!
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and now then you get to a place where you put together this show.
Yes.
The Heat is On.
The Heat is On,
and
yes.
Tell me about how that came to be.
I had the lead in a show called Born to Rumba, which was off Broadway at the Duo Theater, and I was playing a Cuban nun who used to be a showgirl.
Sounds right.
And so it was really, really fun, and I was in that show for quite a while, and Preston Ridge, Preston and his partner Richie saw me, and they were like, you should meet Carter Inskeep. He was doing Always Patsy Cline at the time. And so we collaborated on the Rita Hayworth show, and it started out in a club, and it had several Broadway workshops, and then I met my manager husband, Paul Horton,
right,
and he completely changed the whole show. It was wonderful because, as opposed to only focusing on the music that was in the life of Rita Hayworth, we did the whole background of Rita Hayworth. So we opened it up to the music of the period that would have been the soundtrack of her life.
Right. And
he put the show with a big band, and Carter did all these rewrites, and then we started performing in performing arts centers and casinos, and then we went on. We were like, oh, we need to do a new show, and so we created Burlesque to Broadway. Which is super fun. I mean, it's very glamorous, lots of feathers, sequins, and fans, and it celebrates the women that went from burlesque to Broadway and beyond, that they shape-shifted culture as we know it today.
I would imagine, and you have to forgive me for not knowing specifically, but I would imagine that in such a show, at least you reference Gypsy Rose Lee.
Oh, of course.
And Sally Rand,
Of
perhaps.
course. Sally Rand, Gypsy Rose Lee,
Right.
Sophie Tucker, Cher, Bette Midler, all of a lot of the great Ruth Etting,
Sure.
all the people during that that whole period, the 20s, 30s, all the way to the 70s. I mean, we really run the gamut. We even do John Lee Hooker's Boom Boom, and it was fun because there are 4 other girls with me, my co-star ladies, and it's really fun because our concept was usually in a burlesque show or a vaudeville show, there would be the baggy pants comics, and there would be like there was a format, and then you would have the burlesque artist or whatever. But I read everything on Gypsy Rose Lee, Mae West. I mean, I did a lot of research because these women really came out of that vaudeville era, and it was the double entendre, and then I researched all of the skits, the classic skits, and we had the girls do it because we were like, what if 5 really beautiful women did these really outrageous, fun, double entendre skits they were called pass-throughs at the time, and then the show was also loosely based with my relationship with my grandmother and my father, and it was semi-autobiographical, but also taking people through this journey. And the songs are just Let Me Entertain You, but everything to Tom Jones' She's a Lady, and John Lee Hooker's Boom Boom it really brings down the house because Paul was like, what if you did Boom Boom? And it was like this whole like reveal, and it's like a 5-minute number, and it's like this strip tease, and you've got 5 women on stage, and it's really sexy with high horn parts, and we were inspired by Bruce Springsteen's version with the horns, and it really brings down the house. And then when we do, if you've got it, flaunt it, Mel Brooks, you can't, but we do, that's our tribute to Sally Rand with the fans, and and that's our reveal. It's fun. The show's a lot of tease and a lot of power,
Now I want to talk about it a little further. You've been doing it for how long?
Burlesque to Broadway, like 8 years.
Okay, and I want you to tell the listening audience, where have you done it? Because I know you've played venues here and abroad.
Yes, for Burlesque to Broadway, we've traveled all over North America. We've done all the casinos, the Kravitz Center in West Palm Beach. We also did Rita Hayworth there several times, and sold out both Rinker Hall as well as the big Dreyfus Hall, which was really exciting. And casinos all over Canada and New York, and it's just so great to travel the country and get to meet lots of musicians, and the audiences are so remarkable. I mean, they're just you touch them in ways. It's exciting.
Well, of course, and
tease them because
yes,
it's all about the tease.
Yes, well, that's why in burlesque they would have the Dutch comics, because they would break up between the acts, very sexy and very alluring, and so they would be there to kind of alleviate, I wouldn't say tension exactly, but they would mix up the way those guys out there, mostly guys out there, felt and were
Right.
responding to the entertainment.
But our show is surprisingly, when like you just did your album, when you start a project, you're not sure how it's going to morph. And our show is like a great date night, but it's also a great girls' night out. And like we were in Nanaimo in Canada, and which is very hard to get to, and people would travel and make it a whole like girls' night out event, and women, like we were in Virginia and near a military base, and at the Newberry Opera House, and all of these women dressed up, and they were so grateful to have a reason to dress up and celebrate and wear their high heels and wear their feathers and their sequins, and it was really wonderful.
As far as I know, and I'd like you to talk about it a little bit, though your husband Paul is the presenter per se, and also has helped to form these shows, right? Put
He's
these
the
shows
producer.
together.
Yeah,
He's the producer. But it's a collaborative effort in a way,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
tell me how you two work together. If there's, a give and take, or he does one more of this and you do more of that.
Well, he doesn't get on stage with a red
No,
wig.
that I know. But he does have very specific ideas about
Yes,
what you wear and how you present these things and
Yes.
what works and what doesn't. And
Yes, he has an incredible eye and an incredible aesthetic, and he has vision. I mean, a lot of vision. Whether it's me or any of his other clients, we've been, and he always pushes me to do things. We were creating a David Bowie show, and he asked me to direct it and produce it with him. And I was like, who am I to do this? David Bowie is so outside of my world, but yet when we got into the world of it, we produced a show called Rebel Rebel: The Many Lives of David Bowie, and we have three. David Bowie believed that we all have multiple lives and we live as different people, and it's reflected in the different characters that he played in his life. So we were like, what if we have three different Bowies performing in this one concert, creating the whole? And it's really spectacular. We have incredible talent, and we've been touring that. And the music of David Bowie, it's so theatrical. I mean, it was a perfect fit for me to be a part of it and to direct.
so obviously, your projects currently are on hold. But as Paul
Yes.
said earlier,
Yes.
they're moving out into the future, and the venues want to make sure that they have the time and make the time for you to
Yes.
perform these shows. So I want you to say a little bit. This will probably be a December broadcast. So I want you to tell the folks, when they can possibly see you, which shows you're going to be doing out in the future, where they'll be.
Well, we're going to Burlesque to Broadway and Rita Hayworth. The heat is on. We don't know yet. It will be in the future. Our Queen show. We produced a show called The Ultimate Queen Celebration, starring Mark Martell.
Okay,
And
who's Mark Martell?
Mark Martell was the voice of Freddie Mercury in the film, the Academy Award-winning film Bohemian Rhapsody.
Very good.
And so we've been really busy with that show because with the film and the film's success, and Mark is just spectacular. And so we've been on the road. I mean, we got married last year and we were here for maybe 14 days. And then all of this, we were traveling all over.
Didn't the Pope preside? You went to the Vatican?
No, we didn't go to
You were on a beach, I think, right?
Yes, we were on a beach.
Okay, well, that's great. You have numerous shows that I'm sure have a broad appeal, and folks, I think, would be,
Yeah.
of course, are interested by all of these.
Well, it's been interesting because I'm a glamour girl and I'm a throwback to, like I live in the world of Anne Margaret and Eartha Kitt and Rita Hayworth, and I mean, all of those great, Shirley Bassey, those are my idols, and Judy Garland, that whole thing. And working with, we also last year created a show called Pink Floyd's. Last year we created a show called Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Wall, and again we have three performers and a fabulous rock band with that, and getting into the music of Pink Floyd, and then also having worked with Queen and David Bowie. It's like so fascinating how, like, the music is parallels in the standard world, it's the same thing with the 80s and 90s rock. It's really exciting, and the poetry and the theatricality of it all. And so that's been a real privilege to work on.
Now, with all these shows, how do you find time to relax and?
Well, we're in the age of COVID. We're relaxing like crazy.
Now you're catching up. You're catching up on your sleep.
Yeah. Well, yes.
A little bit, but how do you juggle all this when you're working?
It's. I mean, certain things have to take a priority,
right.
But you decide, okay, this is what I'm doing. And, lately it had been Queen so much because that Queen is like the epitome. That's the Sinatra of 80s rock. I mean, I would say that all three of these musical groups are now the new standard, because the audiences that have the money to go out and to go to live concerts, and
this is the music of when they were young,
right? And so that's what they listened to when they were growing up, and it's thrilling. It's so exciting.
You've made quite a number of recordings.
I have I think 5 or 6 recordings.
Tell us about it.
I started off, I did this little show off Broadway called Siren Songs of the Silver Screen,
yes.
which you saw. And that was all about my favorite screen sirens. And these little vignettes, and Doris Day and Julie London and all of the greats. And so that was my first CD, and that was with a quartet. I believe it's been so long since I did it, but I still do some of the numbers. And when I perform in Greece, I perform at the Half Note at a jazz club every few years with my quintet.
Where in Greece?
Pun intended.
Where in Greece?
Athens. Athens in Met. It's like the hottest jazz club
you
there.
Performed the Acropolis, like they set you up in front?
Well, actually, Paul produced a photo shoot at the Acropolis.
I'm sure he
in
did.
a gown. It
Why
was pretty
not?
Fabulous.
Sure. You go to Egypt, get in front of the pyramids.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But you have to put on your lashes and your high heels. I'm probably the only person that climbed up the Acropolis in high heels. And I'm so glad I did. But it's the European audiences are fantastic because they know that. Like, I would sing Cole Porter, like "My Heart Belongs to Daddy," and all these Greeks with the chains and everything. Oh yes, my heart belongs. So when we were doing Burlesque to Broadway, we were like, we were cooking. You like to cook, don't you?
I do.
So, Paul and I were in the kitchen cooking, and I was like, listening to, I love the Peter Gunn, the theme. Mm-hmm. So I was like humming "My Heart Belongs to Daddy" over it, and I was like, I think I could do it to a counterpoint to Peter Gunn, and so we do it in Burlesque to Broadway. It's so fun. I mean, you have the CD and you can listen to it, but it's fun because we go from that grinding, and it's all about greed. Like, she has all her French maids and she's getting a coat and the diamonds and everything, and singing that, and then it goes into this really hot swing, fast swing, and so you have the double entendre of Cole Porter with the grittiness of the Peter Gunn, and then you have that swing, which that's how he wrote it. So
I've been in the recording studio a number of times.
I know.
I love to be in the studio. I always have a really tough time in the studio. The clarinet can be very temperamental, and so can I in trying to get it to do what I want it to do. Mm-hmm. And I find that I'm a victim frequently of humidity. I'm a victim of temperature,
mm-hmm.
And
that sounds like a song.
A blues.
Blues,
real
yes.
Blues. But I get through it, thank goodness. And, I want to ask you, how do you like being in the studio? Because it's artificial in this way. You can do wonderful things in it. The people who are, I work with, engineers, mm-hmm. great. Pete McGinnis, my producer. It's fun. It's a lot of laughs. Mm-hmm. But, it's challenging for me. Do you like to be in the studio? Is it interesting to you?
I love it. I love all forms of performance. I love being in the television studio. I love being in front of the camera. I love being in the recording studio. The thing with the recording studio is it's not forgiving the way in live performances, because that's a human interaction, and you're living and breathing with the audience and with the musicians, and you're all together. So, and there's going to be error. I mean, it happens on every level. But when you're in the recording studio, you're always trying to go higher and higher, but you have to be, right on.
Yeah, and also you're limited to often a certain time frame, mm-hmm. and I find you're only as good as you are on that particular day.
Right, exactly.
In other words, it's a documentation of what you are about that day.
Right. I don't play a horn, but I would assume it's the same thing as being a vocalist, because your body's different every day, and that's why you practice, and that's why you take lessons, even though you think, that's why you rehearse, because your body is different, and that's why you have technique to get you through certain things. But it's telling a story. Everything is telling a story.
Now, I know you're involved with a group that's very important to you, that's very self-affirming,
Yes.
uplifting.
Yes.
It's called Toastmasters.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
It's a public speaking group. President Obama and Bill Clinton were members of Toastmasters, and it gives me an opportunity to meet all kinds of people outside of my industry and learn about other industries and work on my public speaking skills, because I do a lot of public speaking, and now with COVID and everything, I've been in the studio a lot. And when you're speaking, there's a beginning, middle, and an end. There's a way to create what you're talking about, and it's a skill. Public speaking is a skill, and also now with the Zoom or you're in the studio, you have to project or you have to connect in an artificial environment. It's different. I mean, well, you guys are doing Zoom, and I did a TV show, and it was strange. I had to film myself. I had to have my playback in one ear and have the microphone and do everything all at once. But it worked out well. It was a charity thing that we did. It was a couple weeks ago.
Well, good. I'm glad that you're able to stay active with that.
Yeah, I'm staying active with a lot of things, and I'm really, really excited because with the election, I mean, I'm not being political, but it was really exciting because we got to produce last week, and we went on Saturday, the first day of early voting, and we couldn't even find the end of the line. There was no way.
Tell me, I'm going to interrupt real quick, but you were trying to encourage artists to come out and to entertain folks who were waiting on long lines, so they wouldn't get discouraged.
Right.
How did that work out?
Well, what happened was Paul and I went back on Tuesday, and we waited in line over 4.5 hours, and it was snaking from Amsterdam and 100th to Columbus, then back, then all the way to 104th, then back to Columbus, and it was long and it was somber, but they're New Yorkers, and they were going to have their voices heard, but it was discouraging because we'd stand in line and you turn a corner and people would get tired because they would be like, 3 more hours, and you'd go like, no, wait, you've invested 2 hours or 3 hours. And so then Paul had this idea, this concept. He wanted to produce and he wanted to bring artists together to entertain people in the lines for the last early voting day and the day of voting, because we were really, really worried about the lines, if people were going to be able to vote or not. And so he got David Eggers, our director choreographer for Burlesque to Broadway, and me together, and we brainstormed this show we called Broadway on the Line, Get Out the Vote. And so we had David do like a TikTok, Broadway on the line, go vote. And we created a poster, and then we worked the phones and called everybody. Well, I mean, I called you. I mean, I called everybody, and David called everybody. We had it was like a telephone kind of, like a call out. And they had to be, it was challenging because they had to be outside. And Paul had them in, had 2-hour increments and hired, I think, 36 artists. He all day, eight people in a monsoon on Sunday, stilt walkers, tap dancers, saxophonists, guitarists, vocalists. We had, and then on the day of voting, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. artists, balloon artists. I mean, everything, and music. I mean, duos. That we had a bassist and a sax player, and just sax players, and it was just really inspiring. And a lot of people hadn't had any work since March, and then let alone played together. And I can't tell you, there is something magical. It's wonderful Zooming and doing all of that, but being in the same space with where art is going on, and of course everybody had to social distance and wear the masks, and I mean, we did everything correct. But it brought such joy to the neighborhood, and that was, that was our part. It was nonpartisan. We didn't care. We just wanted people to vote.
It's great that you both did that. Very creative, and I'm sure that was well received and greatly appreciated.
It was really appreciated. We're artists, so we've had all kinds of times, and we've always made everything fabulous.
Wow.
That's, and everybody can, no matter where you are in your life or what your resources are, there are so many ways to make life extraordinary and fabulous and celebrate.
Well, I know you a long time, as you know, and I've always been inspired by the fact that no matter what's happening with yourselves in the world, you always elevate yourself to, let's call it, a level of fabulousness. I
like that.
I mean, it's true. I mean, you're in the glamour business, but also your attitude is always so positive. You're always kind of saying, well, we're going to make the most of this. We're going to continue to create art. We're going to continue to find different ways to entertain. We're going to take our talents and we're going to give them, to the world. And I think that's notable. I think that, again, since the arts have been devastated by this pandemic, that people are kind of raring to go again. They want to make art. I tell folks all the time, they get discouraged and say, we're commiserating and we can't do what we do and this is all I do. And I say, look, make art. It will get better. You will be able to do this again. This is a good time to kind of
practice.
Use it up. It's an opportunity to practice, to think about what you want to do. And that leads me to my next question, which is, what do you want to do that's new or that, builds on what you've done already for the future?
I'd like to do television. I'd like to do a TV show.
What kind? Ideally, what would you like to do?
Well, I think that with this lifestyle brand, culture, food, entertainment, behind the scenes. I'd like to do, Phil Rosenthal has somebody feed Phil, something kind of like that,
right.
but a little different because we're in the music business, and so we can do that aspect as well. And cooking and entertaining, I love.
Yes, I do.
Paul and I throw. You don't know yet, but Paul and I throw fabulous parties, and he's always making everything beautiful. And I love cooking, and we love entertaining.
I can't help it. I'm thinking to myself, one episode you're going to say, "This is how you make chicken glamorous. This is how you dress up. This is how you dress up a turkey to make sure that it's the turkey everyone will remember for the rest of their lives."
Well, yeah, that's. I know that's silly.
We want to play a couple of tunes.
Yes.
From same record or different record?
Same record. It's my Burlesque to Broadway.
From Burlesque to Broadway, and which tunes you want us to play?
If you maybe because we talked about it, do My Heart Belongs to Daddy with the Peter Gunn theme and the swing, and then a little John Lee Hooker boom boom.
Folks, you're going to hear two tunes performed by Quinn Lemley and her ensemble. Her show, Burlesque to Broadway, it has been performed here and across the world. And listen in, I hope you enjoy it.
While tearing off a game of golf, I may make a play for the caddy, but when I do, I don't follow through, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. If I invite a boy some night to dine on my fine linen Hattie, I just adore his asking for more, but my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, Dad, 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 Dad. So I want to warn you, laddie, though I know you're perfectly swell, that my heart belongs to Daddy, 'cause my daddy, he treats it so well. If I invite a boy some night to cook up a hot enchilada, though Spanish rice is all very nice, but my heart belongs to Dada. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, Dad, 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 Dad. So I want warn you, laddie, though I know you're perfectly swell, that my heart belongs to Daddy, 'cause my daddy, he treats it so well. Though all the dames at football games may long for a strong undergraddy, I never dream of making the team, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy. Dad, 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 dad. So I want to warn you, laddie, though I simply hate to be frank, that I can't be mean to Daddy, 'cause my dad, 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 Daddy likes me. Boom, 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 boom. I wanna shoot you right down, take you in my arms. I'm in love with you, a love that is true. Boom, 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 boom. I like the way you walk, I like the way you talk. When you walk that walk, and you talk that talk, you knock me out, right over my feet. Come on, let's shake it up, baby. Come on, let's shake it up, baby. Come on, come on, come on and shake it up, baby. Hey! up my baby.
Folks, you must admit, that was fabulous. I want to say that I'm delighted to have had Quinn Lemley on my podcast. I know her a long time. It's been my pleasure to work with her. And as
We've had so much fun at Sardi's and at the Oak Room. Gosh, I miss all of.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you know,
miss
a lot
everything.
of those places are not only closed now, but they're not there anymore. And I'm hoping, as always, it'll be cyclical and there'll be a resurgence.
I think we're going to have a renaissance. I mean, after COVID, people are so hungry for the arts. Oh, I wanted to tell you.
Please.
When we did Boom Boom, we were talking about Mae West earlier. Mae West did this. I didn't know this until after we created it, but you know, when you're working on a project, everything kind of is cyclically comes together in a way, musically, and or the jokes or the references. And I do a lot of Mae West jokes in the show. Well, she recorded an album in her later years, and she did Boom Boom, and she did like all these, like, you know, 60s pop hits. It is hilarious, but she doesn't really, you know, boom boom boom, you know.
Right, she did it that way.
Yeah, she did it her way. I really sang
that's her
it.
shtick.
Yeah.
So again, I want to thank Quinn Lemley. I'm delighted that she was able to make time for us. I know her a
I'm
long
so
time.
thrilled.
She is thrilled. She's always thrilled. She was born thrilled. And I want to encourage you, especially in these times where, as we know, the arts community has been devastated by this pandemic, please buy her CDs and please watch for her future shows, which we hope will resume as soon as possible in 2021. You can go to her website which is known as
QuinnLemley.com, or they can see me at camatalent.com.
CAMA talent.com. And where else are you a presence on the internet?
I'm on Facebook. I have fan pages and my personal page, and then Burlesque to Broadway on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Oh, Instagram. I like Instagram.
Yes, I do too. I'm starting to get to know it a
Yeah,
little bit.
it's Insta.
It is.
It's super fun, and a picture, well, because I like, you know, feathers and sequins and glam, all that, you know, pictures say a million things without it. It's just a
And your photos are, I mean, the camera loves you, and
thank
you photograph so well, and your couturier, I'm sure, is very happy the way you...
Mr. Wendell.
Mr. Wendell, the way you show off his clothes. And luckily, Paul Horton approves all these photos, so you're always shown in the best light, in the best pose. Anyhow, I always like to say this as well. Quinn Lemley is as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. It's a pleasure to know her, and I hope that you will follow her career. You should, with great interest. She will enhance your life. She's enhanced my life and the lives of many, many people who've seen her shows, and I highly recommend that you get to know the work of Quinn Lemley as soon as you can. This is Joe Traina, and this has been Please Join Me. We've had Quinn Lemley as my guest, and I've loved having her. And I hope you'll tune in for the next installment. You can look at my work on www.joetrainamusic.com. And I want to wish everyone well, be safe, and we'll be back soon. Thanks very much.
You've been listening to Please Join Me with Joe Traina. Be sure to listen anywhere you get your podcasts. Keep up with joetrainamusic.com for news and new episodes. You can listen to Joe's latest recording, Tip of the Hat, on all major streaming services and wherever fine music is sold. This episode was produced by Caroline Voigt